I'm proud to be a Ghanaian. This world is a stage. You choose your character. So you can choose to go to the VIP or can choose to go to the popular stand. Yes. But for me, I wanted to choose the VIP.
Local bitters will never sell, but he proved them wrong. Sitting in his tiny garage in a village in Accra, he pounded and formulated herbs into bitters. He was laughed at because no one fathomed the possibility of a local drink from a dirty remote village sitting pretty and breaking grounds on the global stage. He stayed in that garage, mixed those herbs with his hands. No factories, no fancy tools. I'm sure that if I tell you his name, you would shake your head and mutter how you don't know him. The Ghanaian man who turned herbal medicine into a billion-dollar venture for himself, his country, and Africa. This is the story of the man, Kasapreko, and the culture-breaking local bitters, Alomo Bitters. Welcome to AfriWealthWise, where we tell real stories behind successful Africans, those who are building more than just wealth, and those rewriting the future of the continent. This is one of those stories. Deep in the forest, often between paths, with no power line, not even a single tarred road existed, such that getting to and from there takes hours over rough roads. Dr. Kwabena Adjei was born in the year 1954 in the remote Bonuama, a small farming town near Sankagwa, situated in Ghana's western region, and he lived there until he was 13. A garage-born, science-driven herbal medicine entrepreneur who at first used to run around the dusty road on Accra, a shy kid with a sharp mind coming from the abyss of poverty. Not an MBA-born tech mogul or a politician with family money. In fact, his parents were poor. They were just a farming family, the kind of poor where meals were rationed and shoes were luxury. And he even walked to school barefooted, in the heat, dust, and cold, 5 miles every single day, just to be educated in primary school. What mattered was that they had very big dreams. One can even say that the dreams materialized. His primary education was a mess. A single tiny classroom for a whole school. And he used chalk on slates because there were no books. Sometimes they even had to take classes under trees because of how stuffy the classroom was. Yet, there was only one blackboard in the whole school. Coming to Accra at age 13, he brought along with him a very limited formal education, but he was armed with the fiercest determination ever. To earn a living, he took on odd jobs. He worked very hard as a factory hand at Valco, an aluminium company, and he still made time to study at night while attending school part-time. That became his life for many years, working during the day, then study at night. It didn't take long before he eventually earned a bachelor's degree in psychology from the University of Ghana, then a master's in research methods from the University of Strathclyde in Scotland. He also completed the owner/president management program at Harvard Business School. And despite his humble beginnings, Adjei became one of Ghana's most educated entrepreneurs. Year 1989, Dr. Adjei made a decision that would change the direction of his life and Ghana's local manufacturing space forever. At that time, Ghana was heavily reliant on imported alcoholic drinks. Foreign spirits from Europe and America dominated the market. If the drink did not come in a fancy bottle with an English or French label, people did not trust it, and invariably, they did not buy it either. Even local sellers preferred imported gins, brandy or whiskey. Of course, that was what their buyers wanted. Sadly to note, but also very hilarious, is that the average Ghanaian couldn't even afford them. Meanwhile, the traditional herbal drinks, what people call aperitifs or bitters, they were everywhere in the local communities. But they were also seen as crude, unhygienic, and unhealthy. They were mixed without measures, packed in reused bottles, and often sold in very dirty environments. Dr. Adjei saw the gap very clearly. He had his belief, which was that there was a way to blend traditional African herbal wisdom with modern science and quality control. He also believed that local alcoholic herbal drinks can be produced in such a way that it could compete with any foreign brand. A drink that wouldn't just get people drunk, but also make them feel good, stay healthy, and even promote wellness. That was a crazy delusion at that time. But there was also no access to funding, investors, no grants. He started with what he had, a small garage behind his house in Nongwa, a coastal suburb of Accra. His makeshift production space had no fancy tools or production line, and with just his bare hands, plastic drums, local herbs, and a few dedicated workers, 5 of them including himself. That garage was where he created the first test versions of what would later become Alomo Bitters. They manually pounded and mixed herbs like ginger, cloves, and other roots. They had been used in Ghana homes for generations. He made sure everything was measured, clean, and consistent, something that Pertechi sellers didn't do. The funny thing was that, just like their Pertechi sellers, he did not even have labels, just reused bottles with handwritten tags. But what he had was something stronger than branding, a working formula and a herbal alcoholic drink that actually tasted good and made people feel good. When Kwabena and his team took the drink to local distributors, bars and wholesalers, they laughed at him. Who wants local bitters? They will never sell. Bring me Gordon's or Johnny Walker, not this village thing. It was disheartening and very discouraging for any human being, for something you built with your hands to be rubbished just like that. And for what reason? Because it wasn't foreign. But Dr. Adjei did not stop. He went back to the drawing board and he did a thing. He went directly to the people and handed out free samples. He sat with bar owners and carefully explained the health benefits. He targeted blue-collar workers, welders, carpenters, drivers. He targeted people who didn't care about brand prestige, people who wanted something affordable, strong and beneficial. The result of this strategy? It was slow. Gradually, word of mouth started to spread. People started asking for that herbal drink from Nongwa. Some said it helped with appetite, while others said it helped with their back pain. The brand began to grow, with no radio ads or TV commercials. It grew through real results and loyalty from working-class Ghanaians. That's how the Kasapreko Company Limited was born. Kasapreko did not come from Kwabena's name or any member of his family. It came from the respected traditional chief, Nana Kasapreko. This man supported Dr. Adjei in the early years. He gave the brand a local identity and a solid cultural backing. And as the demand for the product grew, Dr. Adjei knew he needed to upgrade. He invested every pesewa he earned back into the business. He did not think of buying any car or building houses. He focused on purchasing better tools, proper bottling equipment, and later rented a big facility. In the long run, he began to hire food scientists, quality control officers, and professional production staff. In just a few years, Kasapreko went from being a hand-mixed garage drink to a proper beverage company. They began producing thousands of bottles per day, all locally. By the late 1990s, Alomo Bitters had become a household name, especially in Ghana markets, bus parks, and street bars. It had become part of Ghana's culture. And the mind-blowing irony, the same wholesalers and retailers who had once mocked him were now begging for stock. The barriers and how he overcame them. Now, you think that once people start buying Alomo, things will become easier. No, that wasn't the case. In fact, that was just the beginning of a new fight for Kwabena and Kasapreko. In fact, it was like graduating from fighting hunger to taxes, laws, and even international giants. Here's how that played out. One of the earliest problems that Kasapreko encountered was raw materials. You see, the main ingredients needed to scale production, things like ethanol, sugar, glass bottles, caps, and even packaging, they were not readily available in Ghana. They had to be imported from Brazil, Italy, India, and even from China. Because of that, the business was constantly at the mercy of import delays, international pricing, and exchange rates. So every time Ghana's currency, the CD, fell in value, then the cost of production would shoot up like crazy. Dr. Adjei had no choice but to become more than just a businessman. He became a supply chain warrior when the need arose. He started working closely with reliable international suppliers. He stockpiled critical materials when prices were fair, and even tried to set up a local ethanol plant in Tema. It wasn't easy, no lies. And it didn't fix everything. It just showed that he wasn't waiting for miracles. It also showed that he was a solution provider. Next, he was hit by something every African entrepreneur fears: foreign exchange control. At one point, the Bank of Ghana limited how much foreign currency businesses could access. So even if you had money in cedis, you couldn't easily get dollars to pay your international suppliers. Can you imagine that? You have money, but you can't even use it to buy what you need to keep your factory running. How did he survive? Simple, but not simple. He built trust with bank managers. He built deep relationships with partners outside Ghana, and sometimes he paid ahead of time. When the FX window opened, he didn't even wait before he needed the materials. That kind of strategy plan was what helped Kasapreko avoid many crises that would have shut other companies down. Another problem: the business came under government pressure. Now, understandably, alcohol is heavily regulated in Ghana. There are so many levies to settle, from alcohol tax, bottle tax, excess stamps, registration, and other regulatory fees. If any of these were delayed or mishandled, production could grind to a halt. And guess what? Sometimes the government itself wasn't even ready, so they delayed stamps or changed rules without notice. It was like dancing with a blindfold. So Dr. Adjei hired a proper compliance team, trained them, and even worked with government tax force to improve tax stamp system. Instead of fighting the system, he helped improve it, so it wouldn't just benefit Kasapreko, but other local producers too. The most painful and almost ruining obstacle was that the moment Alomo became popular, criminals started making counterfeits, especially in Nigeria. They sold cheap, unregulated drinks in Alomo branded bottles, some of which made people very sick. The biggest damage wasn't just the loss in sales, it was a risk to Kasapreko's reputation. He launched a fight back, introduced tamper-proof tax-stamped bottles, collaborated with authorities to raid fake factories, trained his distributors to spot and report counterfeits. He protected the integrity of his product like it was his first child. Among other obstacles, Kasapreko had to face what seemed like Goliath: big international competitors. Global giants like Diageo, who made Guinness and other premium drinks, had entered West Africa with massive marketing budgets and global networks. They floored the market with options. They offered retailers incentives and slashed prices to dominate shelves. But Kwabena Adjei didn't back down. He did two things: double down on heritage branding. He kept reminding people that Alomo was made for Africans, by Africans, using African herbal knowledge. He also expanded into rural areas where the global brands didn't care to go. The place where people knew the taste of real herbs and cared more about results than image. And guess what? It worked. By the time these brands realized how powerful Alomo Bitters became, it was too late. Kasapreko already built a fan base of loyal drinkers who didn't need TV ads to stay committed. Kasapreko and the Alomo Bitters also faced everyday African struggle: power outage and bad roads. Yes, even with all the success, the business had to deal with business shutting down due to light outs, clean water shortage, and delayed deliveries because of bad roads. So again, he did what great founders do: he simply adapted. He bought industry generators, installed water reserves, and built a distribution system that accounted for delays. So after all this, what does it mean for you? What do you take away from this story? Let's take a pause for a second and ask ourselves this question: what kind of entrepreneur do you want to be? Are you the one that gives up when funding doesn't come? Or the one that waits until the economy is perfect and you have all the tools you need before you start? Are you the one that looks around and builds with what's already in their hands? Because if there's anything Dr. Kwabena Adjei's journey teaches us, it's this: you don't have to start big to become big. You just have to start. and start with what's in your hands. Even if all you have is a garage, a few plastic drums and the vision. When they told him local bitters couldn't sell, he didn't argue. He proved them wrong. When he was told his idea was too local, he didn't apologize. He made that local drink so global, it's now sold in over 16 African countries and stocked in the UK supermarket. So maybe the question isn't, can I succeed in Africa? Maybe the real question is, will I stay long enough to see my ideas through? Will I push through when the money's not flowing? Will I reinvest when the system changes? Will I protect what I build, even when others try to copy it? Dr. Adjei didn't have rich parents. He didn't have startup capital or foreign investors, but he had something very valuable, which was a deep belief that African knowledge is not inferior, that our traditional ideas, when packaged right, can be very profitable, that culture can become a source of commerce, and that you don't need to be known to be legendary. And let's be honest, maybe many of us are sitting on mad ideas right now. Ideas that could employ people, ideas that could change our community, ideas that could rewrite Africa's story. But we're waiting for grants, investors, validation, someone to clap before we dance. Remember, Dr. Adjei didn't wait. He simply started small, stayed smart, and scaled with sense. Today, Kasapreko employs hundreds, supports thousands, and inspires millions. But it all started with pounding herbs in a tiny garage. So what's in your hands? What's your garage? What's your Alomo Bitters? And what are you doing about it? At AfriWealthWise, we don't just talk about success. We study the ones who built it against all odds, because Africa's future isn't in the hands of those who follow the rules. It's in the hands of those who rewrite them. For those chasing generational wealth with integrity and vision, AfriWealthWise is your blueprint. Subscribe, share, and be a part of a movement redefining what it means to succeed in Africa.